Why Media Group? The fastest growing media group in North America.
Hello and welcome to Why Media Newsroom. I'm Ramona Singh, bringing you the latest news about the market's reactions to the Canada-US trade tariffs and the US foreign policy and the Ontario elections. President Trump has been in office since January 20th, signing a slew of executive orders, and we've seen the markets fluctuate sharply, especially after President Trump announced the 25% tariffs on Canadian and Mexican imports and 10% on Chinese goods, causing the US dollar to surge before reversing as Canada and Mexico secured the 30-day tariff delay. The Canadian dollar initially hit a 22-year low before rebounding 1.61%, while China retaliated with tariffs on the United States, US coal, LNG, and crude oil. Investors are skeptic over the tariffs, seeing that the negotiation tactics may have even helped the loonie strengthen to $1.42 Canadian, which is 69.97 US cents. But meanwhile, Canadian 10-year bond yields fell 2.5 basis points to 2.988%, reflecting an economic slowdown concerns. The Bank of Canada cut interest rates by 25 basis points to 3%, citing fears that the tariffs could fuel inflation. With global trade uncertainty, which is very high, investors are turning to gold, which hit a record high of $2,830 per ounce. President Trump has suggested relocating Palestinians out of Gaza, having the U.S. take ownership of the territory's redevelopment, calling it a potential Riviera of the Middle East. Speaking alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, President Trump did not rule out deploying American troops to support the reconstruction efforts. The proposal has been widely rejected by U.S. allies, including Egypt, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia, which reaffirmed their support for the Palestinian state, a two-state solution. United States lawmakers from both parties have also voiced their concerns, with Senator Chris Murphy calling it a sick idea and Senator Lindsey Graham expressing doubts about Americans supporting a military presence in Gaza. Now, President Trump's comments come as the ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas remain very fragile. Prime Minister Netanyahu, under domestic pressures from both hard-right coalition members and war-weary Israelis, is set to continue ceasefire talks while he's facing corruption trials in Israel. Now, just hours before meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister, President Trump signed an executive order withdrawing the United States from the United Nations Human Rights Council and halting funding for the UN Relief and Works Agency, which primarily supports the UN aid for Palestinian refugees. Now, this move signaled a major shift in the United States foreign policy. It is expected to draw sharp criticisms from international allies as well and human rights organizations. While this is happening, we're seeing that what President Trump announced yesterday about the U.S. taking control of Gaza, that was praised by pro-Israeli conservatives. We've seen all sorts of remarks from both sides of the aisle, as well as international leaders. The fallout could have significant diplomatic and humanitarian implications, given that the Palestinian refugees rely heavily on the UN Relief and Works Agency assistance. Now, since President Trump's inauguration on January 20th, the world is seeing a different Trump, a 2.0, a Trump that has an expansionist vision when it comes to AI, territorial ambition, as well as global leadership. President Trump is shifting his strategy from his traditional America First nationalism that we saw take place in his first term, and as well as what he spoke about on the campaign trail. And now we're seeing an aggressive global posture fueled by AI. In recent, actually day one after he was inaugurated, he announced the massive $500 billion AI data center, declaring that America will be the world capital of AI. And also at the Economic Forum in Davos, President Trump signaled his intent on leveraging AI as a tool for reshaping global power. This comes after with his targeting of allies like Canada and Mexico tariffs, his territorial threats towards Greenland, Canada becoming the 51st state, the Panama Canal, and now potentially Gaza. So this, is something that everyone is trying to catch up to with all the different executive orders and President Trump going very fast in office in just mere few weeks. Now, there's also the demands he aimed that NATO members should increase their defense spending from 2%, which not many countries, including Canada, have even measured up to 5% GDP. This is a significant departure from his earlier policies, solely focusing on domestic issues and making promises about withdrawing American troops from around the world, getting out of different wars, such as the funding of Ukraine's war with Russia. So this is all news. Critics are warning that this blend of AI ambition with aggressive foreign policy could undermine his longstanding international alliances and destabilize global corporations and cooperations as the world is navigating through all these sudden changes. Now, China's AI advances with DeepSeek that we covered, which was announced just a couple of weeks ago, is suggesting that the race is far from over. And here in Canada, part of the deal with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and President Trump to delay the 25% tariffs on Canadian imports and 10% on Canadian energy, delay of 30 days. Well, we're hearing from Public Safety Minister David McGuinty. He has outlined Canada's new border security measures, including the appointment of a fentanyl czar, which was part of the promise to President Trump to delay the tariffs for 30 days. He says that it'll coordinate efforts with the U.S. When it comes to drug trafficking. Canada also has designated cartels as terrorist organizations under the criminal code. Very fast move from the Canadian side, and it has also increased its intelligence funding by $200 million. And they're saying that this is established to make sure that it's able to work very closely with its U.S. agencies. Now, there's also the additional $1.3 billion border plan, which will deploy more personnel, drones, helicopters, and surveillance equipment to make sure that the border is very secure. Now, despite these efforts on Canadian side, it is, lots of people and experts remain very skeptical about where this trade talks will go. And we're seeing that this is a big push, even on the Mexican side, where there's a lot of claims that Mexican cartels are now expanding in Canada. These are things that Canada needs to respond to, and we're seeing that from our leaders here in Canada. It is an election year in Canada, and today we'll bring you what all the leaders are saying, especially when it comes to leadership, liberal leadership candidates, as well as the Conservative Party leader and official opposition leader, Pierre Poilievre. And of course, we're going to cover what's happening in Ontario elections. But we have Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly has emphasized that Canada and has need to keep its pressure on the United States to make sure that it is making sure that a tariff threat is permanently lifted. It is a 30-day. We've already come down by a few days to our March 5th deadline.
Why Media Group? The fastest growing media group in North America.